Since its launch in November 2015, Fresh is the Word has been a documentation of sorts for me, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, as I journey through my love of music and pop culture, as well as using this platform to share my growth on topics important to me, which includes topics involving women's rights, people of color, and the LGBT community through the artistic lens of pop culture. As an ever-evolving podcast, I'm going back to my roots, focusing more on the music artists I'm passionate about from the past and present. From the classic hip-hop artists I grew up on, to the new faces of dance. And from the metal bands I've long appreciated, to the indie alternative artists stealing my heart. Fresh is the Word aims to tell the stories of those who need their contributions to music known, while also exposing my audience to the next artist to watch out for. Sometimes before they blow up.
Fresh is the word.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Fresh is the Word podcast. I'm your host, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, and like always, we have the freshest of guests for you. The guest for this episode is Aiyana Smash, making her national debut as Mimi Marquez on the Rent 25th Anniversary Farewell Tour. During our chat, we talked about how she got the role of Mimi, how growing up in Mount Vernon, New York molded her as a person, and how that translated into the musical theater world. Her experiences as part of Rent and how she was able to relate to the Mimi Marquez character, and how Rent is still relatable 25 years later. Aiyana also has a new single that she released titled Queen, so go check that out. The Rent 25th Anniversary Farewell Tour will hit the Fisher Theater here in Detroit for a limited run from October 19th to the 24th. For more information and to purchase tickets, visit BroadwayInDetroit.com. And it's a special note that all guests attending these performances must show a proof of a negative COVID test taken within 72 hours of the performance, or a proof of full vaccination at least 14 days after your second dose, with a government-issued ID prior to admittance into the theater. Additionally, all guests must wear face coverings while in the theater unless actively eating or drinking, regardless of vaccination status. So, without further ado, let's get into this interview with Aiyana Smash from Rent. And now a brief word from our sponsor. Founded in 2015, 20 by 20 Apparel seeks to bring original tributes to pro wrestling's classic arenas, moments, and events. They look to spotlight the biggest, smallest, strangest, and strongest. They also provide an array of services. In the world of wrestling, where there are hundreds of shirts, promotions, flyers, social media accounts, and ads, don't get lost in the sea of parody shirts and display fonts. They can provide professional graphic design services at a reasonable price. 20 by 20 also hand screen prints all of their tees in-house. If you would like to discuss a possible run of tees, posters, koozies, foam fingers, even Zubaz, then drop them a line. Go to 20by20apparel.com. That's the number 20, the letter X, the number 20, apparel.com. Hey, welcome back to the Fresh is the Word podcast. And like always, we do have the freshest of guests for you. And who I'm joined with is Aiyana Smash, who plays Mimi Marquez on the 25th Anniversary Farewell Tour of Rent. How are you doing today, Aiyana?
I am doing really good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been cool. I'm excited that the curtain is coming up and we're gonna see some musical theater again. That was always it's always a fun thing for me to do. I do a lot of things in the music scene and everything, and I really that's one of the things I really did miss was musical theater. Seeing.
Right.
Seeing that, how does it feel to just like be back?
It really feels amazing and kind of surreal. Like literally a couple months ago, I was sitting on my couch, like binge watching Netflix shows, eating snacks. And now I'm like back on stage doing exactly what I love, telling the story that I love to amazing people. So it's been really great.
What were you doing? What were you doing during all this time off for this pandemic? How did you like sort of like keep yourself ready to go get back on the road?
It was definitely hard. I definitely took up kickboxing so that I could keep myself in shape and also, learn how to fight a little bit because who doesn't want to?
Oh, of course, yeah.
So that was like really, really fun. And I'm still trying to keep it up while I'm on the road. It's just a little hard with our schedule. But I definitely picked that up to keep myself in shape. I was doing vocal lessons throughout quarantine so that I could keep my voice in shape. And then also, I got my certification to become a health coach and a life coach. So now I'm studying to become a health coach for performers so that I can help other performers maintain their body and their minds and their talent while doing the job that we love so much.
Wow, you really did like pick up skills like when you were
Yeah, I was working. Yeah.
there's those people that go on Twitter and be like, yo, at the end of this pandemic, you should at least learn 1 to 2 to 3 skills,
Right.
get yourself an LLC, and blah blah blah. But it looks like you took some of that advice
Yeah.
and used it to good use.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did you get involved with Rent and getting this role as Mimi?
So the casting director for this tour was actually friends with the founders of my college, the Institute for American Musical Theater
Okay.
in Harlem, New York. And so when they came to listen to a couple of the students, she saw me and she said, "Hey, do you want to come audition for this show?" And when I initially auditioned, I was actually auditioning for Joanne, which is so funny because I ended up being Mimi instead. And Mimi feels a lot more natural to me, and she feels a lot more close to my heart. But that's basically how I got into auditioning for Mimi and ended up being on this tour.
What was it about Mimi that you connected with?
Well, first of all, I booked the tour when I was 19 and Mimi was 19. Mimi is 19. And so that definitely felt close to my heart because I was afraid that I would have to play a part that was either way younger than I was or way older than I was. And she was literally perfect. And just there's a lot of personality things about Mimi, just like her passion and her veracity for life and just to, make sure that she's doing what makes her happy and what makes her life worthwhile for the amount of time that she has. That's definitely something that I identify with. And also her sassiness. It's so great. I really love her so much.
Where are you originally from? What kind of a childhood do you have? How did you get this itch to be a performer?
So I grew up in Mount Vernon, New York, which is like right outside of the Bronx.
Uh,
And I
Pete Rock.
Yes. Thank you for that, because most people have no idea what I'm talking about when I say where I'm from, but
Right.
it's fine.
Yeah, when someone says Mount Vernon, first thing, Pete Rock.
Right, literally. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for reminding them. Um, so yeah, so I grew up in church. I grew up in the children's choir. I grew up in the dance ministry. I also attended Harlem School of the Arts, which was like an extracurricular artistic training program that I went to after school for about 10 years, literally all throughout middle school, high school, a little bit of elementary school. And that's where I received most of my training. So I learned how to play guitar there. I got into visual arts there and painting and drawing, as well as singing and musical theater and dance.
Right. All right, so you were
Yep.
New York through and through.
Yes, yes, through and through.
How's growing up in New York, really sort of made you into the person that you are?
Honestly, I think it has everything to do with who I am, just the determination that I have as far as going and getting what I know I deserve, and also the hustle has definitely taught me so much. Like, you have to keep going no matter what. You have to make sure that you get to where you need to go. You have to make sure that you accomplish these goals that you set for yourself. New York is definitely a go-getter place, and I feel like being surrounded by that energy and that environment has definitely informed me on how to go get, what I know that I deserve and how to go chase my dream.
Right. How does that compare with being on a like a touring musical and everything that all the fastness, all the moving parts in regards to a touring company?
So I definitely think New York being fast paced is has definitely helped me deal with this tour a little better. So I'm used to things, kind of being a little chaotic, a little messy, very quick, very fast. And that's kind of what this tour is, because we're bouncing back and forth between towns. We're in a new environment every single time. We're in a new, city, a new theater every single time with a new audience, which is great. And I think being able to roll with the punches and uh sorry, I lost my train of thought. Being able to roll with the punches and being able to just be adaptable to every situation and every environment and every audience and house that we end up in. I think that New York has definitely helped me deal with that and helped me roll with the punches on this tour.
What growing up, even through today, you know, I'm a big hip hop head, as you just already know.
Right.
What sort of music is there? Any music from New York that really, you gravitated towards throughout your life?
Um, I would not say any specific music from New York. I do love Pete Rock. I do love Heavy D, who is also from New
Yeah,
York. I do love DMX, who is also from New York.
yeah,
He's literally from like Yonkers, which is like 10 minutes
yeah.
away from
Yonkers.
me, and he was raised in Mount Vernon, so it's still iconic and amazing. So I definitely, my mom grew up bumping their music in the car always, along with her gospel. But those guys, she absolutely loved them. So listening to their music has definitely helped influence me and teach me a couple of things.
What's some things that you learned from those artists?
What I learned is that no matter what you go through and no matter what you might endure, in your upbringing or even, in your career, as long as you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, you will always be doing that thing. There will always be doors open for you. There will always be room made for you. No one can take your gift away from you. And DMX and Pete Rock and Heavy D, all of those guys have definitely taught me that. It doesn't matter where you come from, you will always make it to where you're supposed to be.
How's it feel to be a part of this Rent, farewell tour 25th anniversary company? It's like such an iconic musical. Anybody that knows musicals knows Rent,
Right.
and we also learned how many minutes are in a year because of it.
Right. Because most of us didn't know. Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm so extremely grateful. Every single night that I'm on that stage, it literally brings me to tears that we got the opportunity to be part of such an amazing show and such an amazing legacy and an amazing story. Jonathan Larson wrote like the most beautiful storyline in musical history that I've read or performed or sang or listened to or watched. Like it's so iconic in its own right. And just to think that we were handpicked out of a dozen of people who auditioned for this tour and to tell this story, that we were chosen to tell this story to people all around the country for the next 8 months. Like it's absolutely surreal. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's the 25th anniversary, but this musical is so timeless because it deals with so
Yeah.
many social issues that are
Right.
still very relevant. What's your feelings about that?
I really love that part of the show. The fact that it talks about the AIDS epidemic and homelessness in New York City and just struggling artists in New York City. It's so close to home. I'm so glad that I get to tell this story specifically, especially living in New York. Like there's so many homeless people or so many heroin addicts or crack addicts that you walk past or that you walk over, unfortunately, in the city. There's so many struggling artists that I know who are struggling to pay their rent, who are struggling to stay inside of their apartments, who are struggling to stay inspired and keep creating art while they're struggling with these things. It still is amazing to me that someone like Jonathan actually thought to tell this story, because this story is not told in musical theater and in most places in general. So it's absolutely amazing. I'm so glad that I get to tell that story.
What was it about just performing or whatever that for you first caught that bug? How old were you, and when were you like, hey, I want to start doing this?
Um, I believe that I was 7 or 8, and there's actually There's actually a video of this somewhere on YouTube circulating of me singing a solo in the children's choir. And it was my very first solo, and they recorded it. And you could see that when the congregation had started clapping for me, my face just lit up. I don't know what it was. I don't know what happened. My, my entire little face was just like, oh my gosh, that's what applause sounds like. I love that. And so, like, after that, I was just like, I love telling stories. I love moving people with music. And so, after that moment on, I was just like, I have to sing somewhere in front of people. I have to perform in front of people. Like, this is what I know I was meant to do.
What were when did you first start like making serious steps to get to where you are right now?
Honestly, I feel like attending Harlem School of the Arts all throughout middle school and high school was that step. It was all just one huge step because they gave me all of the resources and the opportunities that I needed in order to teach me this is what the hustle of an artist is like. This is what it takes to make it in this business, and this is what this business is. So I honestly feel like that school as a whole just really trained me to become the artist that I am today. And I know that I would not be where I am today without that information and without those resources and those amazing teachers.
How do you get into a school like that? If anybody like, you know, has a kid that wants to go that route, that school or any school of that, what does someone have to do?
So as far as Harlem School of the Arts goes, it's honestly not that complicated. You honestly just come in, you can like shadow a class and just see if you like the environment and if you like the energy and if this is where you want to go. And it's honestly as easy as filling out an application and paying the fee and then going to a class. I just happened to be a part of the HSA prep program, which was a preparatory program for students who were preparing to go to college. So I was there on a scholarship. So I actually had to audition with, I think, an Italian art song and a musical theater song, and then like a regular R&B secular song. And then after that, I also had to do some work study. So I just had to give back to the school in order to pay off my scholarship. But it's honestly not that hard for kids to get involved in arts programs. And I'm so glad that there are so many more arts programs popping up around the country.
You know, uh, when it comes to like arts programs and stuff like that, do there's more popping up, but do you feel like there's anything that needs to be done to get the word out about that these exist?
I definitely think that these arts programs being seen in more of a public light, because I feel like a lot of these arts programs are in very local places. So unless you live in or around that environment or in that neighborhood, you probably wouldn't know about it. And this is why I'm so grateful for social media, because I know that social media has been such an amazing tool, specifically throughout quarantine, for getting the word out about things that people normally wouldn't have known about. So I really love social media and also just word of mouth. Just talk about it. Don't be afraid to big up your program. Don't be afraid to talk about your local programs. Like, this is how we do it. This is how we network, and this is how we get people into these programs and to get to know about them.
Yeah, New York's definitely like a hotbed of communities, of different ethnicities, people of color and whatnot. How important is having the arts available to those communities? And do you feel like there's more that should be done to make sure that these communities know more about it and make it more accepting?
I think so. I definitely think that some arts programs can seem out of reach for some kids and for some families, or it can seem super expensive or anything like that. And I think that arts programs should definitely keep in mind that every person and every child is coming from a different environment and a different household, and we have to be accommodating towards that and understanding towards that. Like, there can't just be one particular type of person or particular type of kid in these programs should be open to any and everybody and should have the resources to accommodate any and everybody so that everyone can get the education that they deserve.
Getting back to rent, when like what do it's the 25th anniversary,
Yep.
and a lot of people know about this, whether they've seen it on Broadway, seen it in their local theaters, or seen the movie.
Right.
What's what do you think still is like the like this overarching theme of this or the message of this story that's being told?
I think the overarching message is that life is short, and that you have to love everyone around you and love the people that you do love while you can, and love them through, whatever they're going through whatever turmoil they might be experiencing, whether that is a disease, whether that is just mortality in any sense, whether that's an addiction, whether that is a heartbreak. It doesn't matter as long as you love that person through that and you realize that life is precious and today could be your last day. As long as you live it as such, I think that that is the message of the show.
Now, personally, what is your favorite part of this show?
I have so many favorite parts. And every time I get asked this question, I feel like I have to choose. I think, honestly, between Out Tonight and Another Day, and that's not just because I'm Mimi, I promise. I really love that one part of the show because you really get to see Mimi come out of her shell and it really just shows who she is as a person. And I feel like you get a pretty good taste of that out of everyone else. But that is my favorite moment for her. And also, Another Day is when she comes into Roger's house and she's trying to convince him, like, I'm the one for you. I'm a great time. Come out with me. Like, let's have fun. And he's like, no, I'm dying and I'm depressed and I don't want to do that. Please get out of my house. But it is also the very first time that Mimi really stands her ground and stands up for herself towards him. And she's just like, no, I know what I want. I know what my life is. And I know what life means now. And I'm trying to help you as well as help myself. I think that that's a very deep part of the show that a lot of people don't really think about because it's a very lively part of the show. Like the song is thumping, like you're really just focused on the music. But if you listen to the messaging and you really watch what's going on, I think that that's a very deep, great part of the show.
What is is there anything about the Mimi character that you learn more about yourself through?
Yes. Honestly, before I started playing Mimi, I did not think about how precious life was. And that's more or less just because I've never had to think about it. I've never had a life threatening disease or anything like that. I've never had an addiction or anything that has really made me question my mortality. But playing Mimi has definitely shown me like life is super, super precious. And especially after quarantine, I feel like it's informed me playing her even more. Like if this was Mimi right now in 2021, like life would be so, so precious. And it was so precious then and it's so precious now. I think that she has absolutely also taught me how to go out and get what you want and how to believe in yourself. As long as you know who you are and you know what you deserve, you have every right to go out and get what you deserve and to just be yourself and love life no matter what your circumstance is. That's what she's taught me.
When, you've, you're still still very young, still got like so much life
Yeah.
ahead of you, but already, through, what you've learned throughout your life and career, what would be sort of a nugget of knowledge that anybody listening to this, doesn't matter what avenue of artistry that they're in or industry, that they could sort of project into their own life?
I would say if you really love what you do and you feel like you were meant to do what you love, you should absolutely do everything that you can to do that thing. Please don't let anything stop you. Don't let any circumstance stop you, any person stop you. If that is your path that is meant for you, it will always be meant for you. Nobody will take that from you.
Do you have any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Um, Not really. I just hope you guys come out and see the show, and I hope you enjoy us telling the story to you guys.
Awesome. Where can people go online to get more information about, Rent or whatever, or even follow you?
So you can go to rentontour.net to get all of the information on us, the cast, as well as the tour. And as far as I go, you can follow me on Instagram at Aiyana Smash. Just that simple, just my name. And also, I would like to say that I do have a single out. Its name is Queen, and I would absolutely love if you guys listen to it.
Oh, great. I'll definitely go give it a listen.
Yes, please.
And all of you too. Go listen to it. All right.
Right.
All right. It's been good talking with you, Aiyana. And good luck on tour. And can't wait to see you, when you get to Detroit.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Thank you for listening to the Fresh is the Word podcast, hosted and produced by myself, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, empowered by Anchor at anchor.fm/Fresh is the Word. Fresh is the Word theme music provided by Steve O. You can find more of his productions at iamsteveo.bandcamp.com, and that's EYEAMSTEVEO.bandcamp.com. Fresh is the Word is available on all major streaming platforms. Please rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. If you want to support Fresh is the Word, please consider pledging via Patreon at patreon.com/freshistheword. Follow Fresh is the Word on social media on Twitter at Fresh is the Pod, on Instagram at Fresh is the Word Podcast, and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Fresh is the Word. For more information about Fresh is the Word and our other podcasts, Breaking Records and Renaissance Soul, and a collection of pop culture articles and reviews, please visit freshithepodcast.com. Thank you for listening and your support. Goodbye and good night.
Fresh is the word.